All right, everyone. How's it going? Casey Stubbs here. We're getting ready. It's the evening before Thanksgiving. Hopefully, everybody's doing great, doing well. Yes, yes, yes. I'm getting ready to go live here, and we're going to talk for just a minute. I just was checking just checking something out here. Um, ta, 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 ta. We'll be starting in just a minute. Thanks. Thanks, thanks, thanks. Okay. All right. There we go. Looks like we're doing good now. Looks like we're doing good. Okay. Let's see. Home tab. Uh, let's just do this again. We're going to copy all this and we're going to do a new post. Tweet. Sorry about that for everyone that's in here. We're going to go. All right. All right. So it's live right now. Okay. See if this one will work. We're going to run a test. Home. Is it working? Testing, testing, testing. Okay, there we go. All right, we're live. All right, so hey, how's everybody doing? My name's Casey, and we're going to jump right in and get started. So, starting in just a few seconds here. Just a few seconds. We're going to start. I've been saying that, but now I know we actually are. All right. So let's okay, just checking to make sure everything's working. All right. I wonder if there's a way to do that in the pause mode without going live first. But all right. Today we're going to talk about Hello, my name's Casey Stubbs. Today we're going to talk about how to trade Bitcoins for beginners. And we're going to discuss how to day trade Bitcoin and a couple other things about Bitcoin and why I think it's so important. I did a really interesting, in depth YouTube video a while ago about Bitcoin and where I thought it was going. And so there's a lot of potential in Bitcoin, according to my theories, and not just me, but a lot of other things. But I want to just start by talking a few things about beginners, okay, about how to trade Bitcoin for beginners. And you can go into all the basic utility of it and how to collect and create your own wallet, how to use your keys, how to send Bitcoin from person to person. But I wanted to just spend a minute talking about trading Bitcoin. And it's pretty simple. And nowadays it's gone uh, it's so much more readily available on how to trade Bitcoin. And so trading Bitcoin for beginners is as simple as opening up like a Robinhood account. Or if you want to go a little more in depth with just cryptos, you can open up a Coinbase account. You can even trade or hold crypto now with a Cash App account, right? So there's a lot of different ways for people to get started with trading Bitcoin. You can day trade Bitcoin, which is go down onto like a 15-minute chart. When you get a buy setup, perhaps a really good setup for Bitcoin is to find a 15-minute moving average, find a 15-period moving average, and just wait for the price to break above that on a 15-minute chart. And I think that the opportunity for Bitcoin coming up is going to be really big. And so let me take a minute and actually explain that to everyone why Bitcoin has got a big opportunity. So technically, from technical analysis, Bitcoin's in a really big uptrend. It's actually been in an uptrend from the beginning. And even with some of these really big pullbacks we've had, which they call crypto winter, Bitcoin winter, crypto winter, those pullbacks have been great buying opportunities. In fact, one of the last ones was in 2018, Bitcoin 2017, Bitcoin went up to about 17,000 and then it crashed all the way down to 3. Okay. And I want you to really get this. And so at that point, I was buying Bitcoin. And as I was doing that, as I was buying Bitcoin, around the 3,000, I was what they call dollar cost averaging. And it went all the way up to like 68, 67, 69,000 in that area. So a huge move from 3 to 68,000. Massive. And so if you're dollar cost averaging, which means let's say you don't have $50,000 to buy some Bitcoin, you just put in $100 a week. $100 a week, $100 a week, $100 a week, and you're getting a really good price on it. And that's a great way for beginners to trade Bitcoin because you don't have to have an advanced trading strategy. And besides that, I doubt that with as much as I think that it's going to go up, I doubt that you're going to be able to beat the performance. In fact, I think that we're going to break the all-time high and go much further beyond that. I think that the possibility of hitting $250,000 in 2024 is a real possibility. Maybe I should make that the headline of this video and this podcast episode. 250,000 in 2024. That's my call. Okay. And I'm making that on the night before Thanksgiving, 11/22/23. November 22nd, 2023. I'm saying that Bitcoin's going to hit 250 next year, 250,000. So here's a couple of the big catalysts. I've got 3 big catalysts why I think that it's going to hit 250,000. Catalyst number 1 is I think the dollar is going to weaken. Okay. We've had a really strong dollar, which hurts Bitcoin a little bit. So that's the first catalyst. And the reason I think that we're going to see the dollar weaken is because of the Fed. The Fed is probably going to pause on raising rates in 24, and they might lower rates a little bit. And if that happens, that should weaken the dollar. That should put more liquidity into the dollar, which increases the supplies of the dollar. If you increase the supply, the value goes down. If the value of the dollar goes down, that automatically increases the value of Bitcoin. So catalyst number 1 for 250K is that the weak dollar is coming. Next, the next catalyst is we've got some ETFs that are coming. ETFs are coming. And I said 3 catalysts. Now that I am speaking, I'm thinking of a 4th one. But ETFs, they're talking about all these Bitcoin ETFs. And when that happens, and I learned this today from Jeffrey Turnmeyer and I'll give a shout out to him on his YouTube channel. Saw his YouTube live this morning. And when those Bitcoin ETFs come out, the liquidity is going to dry up because they're going to buy tons and tons of Bitcoin. Remember, Bitcoin's already limited. That's another reason why a big catalyst is because there's only a limited number of Bitcoins available. And as people fight for those very precious few, the price is going to skyrocket. And so these ETFs are going to come in and they're just going to grab hold of the Bitcoin and they're never going to sell. It's just like those institutions that hold stocks forever. They don't sell them too often. And so they're never going to sell. And so that's almost like Bitcoin becoming unavailable. It's like taking it out of circulation. I mean, this is a winning situation here, a winning situation for holders. Okay. Now, so we've got the weak dollar coming, possibly. We've got the ETFs coming that are going to buy up. Then we have just the fact that Bitcoin is limited. It's so limited. So that's part of it as well, right? Limited Bitcoin is a big part of this. So we also have something called the halving, which is coming up. The halving, half Bitcoin is going half of the available Bitcoin is going to be cut in half. And so it's going to make it that much more difficult for Bitcoins to be created. And every time that that's happened, every time that the halving has occurred, it's just keeping having. Let's do a visualization here and imagine that you have a piece of paper, which I'm going to grab a piece of paper off my desk, right? You've got this piece of paper, okay, and you fold it in half, okay? And every single time that you fold it, it gets more difficult, right? It's more difficult. So that was like 3 folds. So every time you fold it, it breaks in half, okay? And then towards the end, it gets really difficult to bend, right? And so right now it's like I can't do that. After 4 or 5 folds, I can't even fold it. Okay. And that's what happens with Bitcoin. You cut it in half, you cut it in half, you cut it in half. And so then creating more is going to get that much more difficult. And so again, the supply is going to be radically diminished. So we've got the halving, we've got the ETFs, we've got a weak dollar, we've got the limited scarcity of Bitcoin. And then when we just look at the charts, it's an uptrend. You can see the gains that have happened before. And so how am I going to profit from this? Well, I'm just dollar cost averaging. Every time I get some extra revenue, I plop it in. So that's if I was a beginner looking at trading Bitcoin, that's what I would do. I would just plop it in. I would plop it in. And that's kind of a weird terminology. I would just buy a little bit more, buy a little bit more, buy a little bit more. That's how I would do this. Okay. Um, so it's a big opportunity. I think I could get to 250,000. I will include the video where I went through all my targets. That was like a year ago, but I've been actively accumulating since then. And I think there's a great opportunity here. And that's really how I would do it. And you could day trade it. There's a lot of Bitcoin trading strategies out there. There's a way for you to make Bitcoin fast profit. But ultimately, I think the dollar cost averaging Bitcoin is one of the greatest ways to really make it big here. And I think this is the investing opportunity. I don't see another better investing opportunity out there. I mean, I've got some other good stocks out there. I'm been holding Tesla. I think there's a great opportunity in Tesla. One way we could take advantage of this, I think, Bitcoin's superior to any of the stocks I'm looking at right now. There's probably some out there. If you know of any, let me know. But one way we could take advantage of this is the Bitcoin ETF. There's a Bitcoin ETF right now called BITO, BITO, and it's trading as of today about $18, $19. And so I'm going to be taking advantage by grabbing some of that ETF. right? You can trade options on that ETF. You can buy shares of that ETF. Great opportunity to get some Bitcoin exposure with maybe not buying Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, you don't have to buy the whole Bitcoin. Right now it's trading around 37,000. You don't have to have $37,000 to buy one Bitcoin. You could put in 20 bucks and buy some Bitcoin. You get fractional Bitcoin. But Bitto is a great way to do it because you can use some leverage there if you use options. And so I'm going to be looking at a Bitcoin ETF called Bitto. And that leads me into another topic of discussion that I wanted to talk about. And that's my new YouTube channel called 52 Trades. And it's also part of a segment that I'm doing here on the How to Trade It podcast, where I talk about one of 52 trades, a trade that I'm making every week. And the trade I talked about last week was Dollar General, and the week before that was Roblox. So last week I entered Dollar General, and I'm still holding that position, and it's up about 40% so far this week. So Dollar General is the trade that I'm holding from last week. I did close my Roblox trade, which was entered on on November 2nd. I closed my Roblox trade. So every single week of the How to Trade It podcast, make sure you sign up, you subscribe, and you listen in, because every week I'm going to share my results of these 52 trades. And I'm also going to do the trade on YouTube as well. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can do that. And you're going to see how I do over these 52 trades using weekly charts. So this week, I'm going to get Bitto. And I'm recording this a little bit early, so I don't have the price yet, but I am going to buy Bitto, BITO, the Bitcoin ETF. And from what I was looking at earlier, it looks like I can get call options on Bitto for about $3 based on the strike price I was looking at, which is near an at the money strike is what I was looking at. So I'll keep you posted. But right now, my Dollar General is up about 40%. So really nice. Oh, and I did close the Roblox trade as well. And that was a $39 profit, which was kind of discouraging. I might actually go in on Roblox as well, back in, because it bounced and closed. I got out on a trailing stop loss, and just so I didn't turn the trade into a loser. I'll talk about money management as we go. But right now, when I'm up about 15, 20% on the option, I lock in about 5%, just because me personally, I hate seeing winners turn into losers. It annoys me. And so I was able to get $39 of profit on that. And lastly, I have a new webinar where I'm going to talk about this 52 trade strategy in depth, much more in depth than this segment here on the podcast, and much more in depth than even the YouTube video. Because the YouTube videos are just going to be one trade at a time, probably 2-3 minute videos. But this webinar, it's happening on Friday. I'm going to include a link in the description. And for the YouTube video, the link is actually not even in the YouTube video right now. Let me grab that link here and post it in the chat for if anybody's interested. But it's where I call it 52 trades because I'm taking one trade a week. That's why I call it that. But one last thing for everyone that's still hanging out and listening in. Thank you for your attention. I know that you got a lot of things you can listen to, and I hope that this has been valuable. But one thing I wanted to talk about, we've got Thanksgiving coming up, and this is a thing that really impacts me. I'm a visionary, right? I'm a guy with a vision, a man with a plan, and I'm passionate. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I love going after big goals. And so there's this guy I follow on Twitter, okay, and his name is Mike Webster. Mike Webster. And Mike was posting about some of the stuff in his life. And he posted this really great, and I'll include a link to this tweet, by the way, in the description of the podcast and of the YouTube video. But he was, man, he was sharing some stuff about his life, and he did this quote. I don't know where this quote came from. He said JL, but he says you could waste your whole life waiting for that mountain to move, but it's waiting on you. You've got to make it move. And he shares about how he had a dream. Well, his first dream was to be a pilot, but that didn't work out. Somebody told him he had bad eyesight. So he went to the next thing. The next thing was to be a portfolio manager for Bill O'Neill. If you remember the book, How to Trade Stocks or How to Make Money in Stocks by Bill O'Neill, he wanted to be a money manager. And so everybody was telling him, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. But Mike went after his dream, and he worked harder than anybody else. He wrote his dream down, and he was laser focused. And guess what happened? Mike became a portfolio manager for Bill O'Neill, and he was really good at it, right? He was really good at it. And it's so awesome. Like, I read that last night on Twitter, and I was like, oh my goodness. Actually, I'm going to make a confession. It actually moved me so much. I had a couple tears in my eyes, and that's really corny and silly, but I just get so motivated and so moved by people that go after their dreams. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of courage. So I got to give Mike a lot of credit, but it takes a lot of courage to go after your dreams. And that's just awesome that he shared that story and that he met Bill and went after it. It reminds me of in the book and the Think or Grow Rich, Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, where one of the characters in the book wanted to meet Thomas Edison and work with him. And he just showed up on his door and said, I'm going to do whatever you need me to do. He was a servant. And so he went after his dream. So two things about that kind of made me pay attention. Number one is that he had a dream. He went after it. Number two is that he didn't let anything stop him, and he just kept going. But number three is each one of those, like the one in Think or Grow Rich, and also with Mike, they had mentors and people that they wanted to meet. And I think, having a dream is great, but I think also having a mentor and, learning from some amazing people is such a really cool thing. And I know with me, I've shared this many times, but I've had a lot of mentors. I've met a lot of great people. I'm definitely not a self-made man. I have been blessed to receive from others, and I want to give and share with others. And so that's why I do the How to Trade It podcast. So thank you for listening. That's why I shared about this awesome and amazing opportunity in Bitcoin. And don't forget, sign up for my webinar. The link's in the description, and I think you're going to like it. I'm going to share all about my system with the 52 Trades weekly trading system. One of the key components about it that's so cool is that you can make really good revenue with trading by only trading once a week. You just go in, you use the weekly charts, and it's not so connected to where you're day trading and always looking at things all the time. So you just got to build out a system. And once you get that system, then it makes it systematic. And that's why they call it a system. It makes it systematic, and it's much easier to follow. And I think that's one of the big things that traders are missing a lot is they don't have a good system. So that's it for today's episode of the How to Trade It podcast, where we talked about how to trade Bitcoin for beginners and also shared about a really moving story from Mike, and also updated on my 52 Trades portfolio. But thanks for listening. And if you have not left a review yet for the podcast, it would mean a lot to me because it helps bump me up in the ratings, and then I can impact more people, right? So my vision is to impact and to help train as many traders to be successful as possible. And so if you could leave a comment and a review on the How to Trade It podcast with Apple or wherever you listen to your podcast, that will help me accomplish my dream. One of my many dreams. I've got a lot of dreams. I like to go after it. But that's it for this episode of the How to Trade It podcast. And thank you all so much for listening.